All right, let's talk about something that's probably sitting in your kitchen right now, something that's a bit of a delicious paradox. We're diving into the amazing science of seedless fruits. And this is the real head scratcher, right? I mean, a fruit's whole job in life is to make seeds. That's its purpose. So, how on earth can a fruit with no seeds even exist? It feels like it completely breaks the rules of nature. And this isn't some weird, rare thing. It's everywhere. I'm talking about the seedless grapes you snack on, the banana in your smoothie, those awesome seedless watermelons at a BBQ, even the oranges for your morning juice. We're so used to them, we barely even think about it. Okay, so let's just quickly refresh on the biology because it's super important here. A plant makes a tasty fruit for one reason. It's a clever little travel package for its seeds. An animal comes along, eats the fruit, walks away, and, well, leaves the seeds somewhere new. That's how plants get around. So a fruit without seeds? It's like a car without an engine. It shouldn't work. So what is going on? Okay, this is where we put on our detective hats. We're going to treat this like a real botanical mystery, and we're going to follow the clues that both nature and, well, science have left behind for us. So what we find out is that there's not just one single answer. It's kind of like there are two different paths to get to a seedless fruit. One path is basically a lucky mistake by Mother Nature, a random mutation. And the other path, that one involves us, humans, getting involved through something called selective breeding. Let's take a look at that first method, the natural accident. Every now and then, a plant is born with this random genetic quirk that just makes it sterile. It can't produce working seeds. And the poster child for this? The banana. You have to imagine, way, way back, some banana plant popped up without any seeds, and some person found it and was probably like, whoa, this is way easier to eat. All right, so the second method is a lot more hands-on. This is where scientists and farmers get involved. They very carefully cross-pollinate different types of the same plant. And what happens? The baby plant, the hybrid, is basically a genetic dead end. It can't make proper seeds, but it can still grow a perfectly delicious fruit. And that's the magic trick behind a lot of our seedless watermelons and grapes. Okay, so this brings up a super obvious question, right? If these plants are sterile, if they don't have seeds, how in the world do we make more of them? How do we have these huge farms, these massive industries based on plants that can't reproduce? The answer is one word, and it's both really simple and kind of mind-blowing. Cloning. Yeah, cloning. Basically, we're making perfect genetic copies. And there are a few really clever ways to do it. You can do cuttings, which is literally just snipping off a piece of the parent plant and sticking it in the ground to grow a new one. Or there's grafting, where you take a branch from the seedless plant and attach it to the root system of a different, hardier plant. And then there's the super high-tech way, tissue culture, where scientists in a lab can grow thousands of new plants from just a tiny clump of cells. Okay, so let's dive into a specific example. We'll open up a little case file on the watermelon, because the trick they use here it's really clever. So it all comes down to some really smart genetic math. Here's how it works. You take a normal watermelon, right? It has 2 sets of chromosomes. We'll call that diploid. Then scientists do some work to create another watermelon plant that has 4 sets of chromosomes, a tetraploid. Then they crossbreed them. And what do you get? A baby watermelon with an odd number, 3 sets of chromosomes. This triploid plant can grow a big, juicy watermelon. But because that chromosome number is odd, they can't pair up to make seeds. It's dead end, and that's exactly the point. All right, let's look at our second case file. And this one's a little more dramatic. We're talking about a fruit that is, without a doubt, the world's biggest clone army. And maybe the most fragile. Get ready for this. Every single Cavendish banana you've ever eaten, the standard yellow one you see in every grocery store on the planet, is a clone, an exact genetic copy. They all come from one single plant that was a natural seedless mutant. Just think about that. You have literally never eaten a genetically unique Cavendish banana in your entire life. And this is where the story gets, well, a little scary. Because every banana is a sterile, identical clone, the entire worldwide population has a huge weakness, a massive Achilles heel. There is absolutely zero genetic diversity. And that means a disease, like the infamous Panama disease, can just rip through entire banana populations and wipe them out. Think about it. If one plant is vulnerable to a fungus, then every single plant is vulnerable. There are no stronger ones that might survive. There's no genetic backup plan to save them. And we see this kind of thing with lots of different fruits, each with its own little story. The banana was that lucky natural accident that we figured out how to clone. Watermelons have that cool chromosome trick. Some grapes use hormone treatments. And a lot of oranges, they came from a single mutant tree branch that someone noticed and then started grafting everywhere. It's this really cool mix of nature's happy accidents and our own cleverness. So this brings us to the big twist in the story, right? The central conflict. We love the convenience of seedless fruit. I mean, who doesn't? But that convenience, it comes with a pretty big risk hiding just below the surface. And that risk is something called a monoculture. It just means huge populations of plants that are all genetically the same. And when you have that, you lose all the strength that comes from diversity. It makes them super, super vulnerable. One single bug or disease could, in theory, wipe out the entire crop. And on top of that, they can't even survive on their own. They totally depend on us to keep cloning them. So where does that leave us? What's the final verdict here? Well, it's not as simple as humans messed with nature. It's actually more like a partnership. Okay, so let's just quickly recap the big ideas here. 1. Seedless fruits happen either by a random fluke of nature or because of some clever science. 2. Since they can't make their own seeds, we have to clone them to make more. And 3. This is super convenient for us, but it creates this big risk by getting rid of the genetic diversity that keeps plants healthy and resilient. And this really sums it all up perfectly. A seedless fruit isn't some mistake or something unnatural. It's exactly what this quote says. It's nature plus science, working together to create convenience. It's a team effort between a lucky natural accident and human cleverness. So I'll leave you with a final thought to chew on, literally. Next time you're in the produce aisle, just look around. How many other things that we just assume are natural are actually the product of centuries of science and human ingenuity? It's a pretty cool mystery, hiding right there in plain sight. Thanks for joining me.